Okay, welcome everyone to our webinar, Transform into a C Leader. So while waiting for others to join in, please share with me where you're dialing in from in the chat box. I know that we have friends joining us from as near as Malaysia to as far as the US. You can just open up the chat box and type in which country you're dialing in from. I see a lot of Singaporeans with us today. Oh, Malaysia as well. This is our very first webinar hosted independently by BestOfMe, and we are so honored to have you here with us today. I am Singing, the digital marketing specialist at BestOfMe. Please share with me in the chat box what you look forward to hearing today. Well, I see that we even have Alvin from Indonesia. Before we dive right into the webinar, let me share a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that says, "A good leader inspires people to have confidence in the leader. A great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves." Do you agree? I personally believe a powerful and successful leader is able to empower people to unleash their potential and step out of their comfort zone. This is why we are hosting this webinar, in hopes of inspiring leaders like you to take the next step in becoming effective and empowering leaders. Please feel free to take part in this interactive session and raise your hand if you have any questions or if you would like to make a comment. Let me begin by running through today's webinar agenda. I'll soon be passing my time over to Aichin, today's host and panel facilitator, to conduct the opening address, followed by the panel discussion with Michelle and Alvin. Thereafter, we will be hosting a live Q&A session. So make sure you stay till the end so you can ask us any questions and get them answered. So let me ask you a question. What does the C in a leader mean to you? Please feel free to type in the chat box what roles you hold as a leader. As an outgoing extrovert, I like to think of myself as a cheerleader, a confident leader, and a caring leader. What about you? I believe we have with us many C-suite leaders, coach leaders, and of course, charismatic leaders. I see someone that says caring. You can totally get creative with what kind of C leaders you are. Oh, cheerleader as well, connecting. Anyone else? Clarity. These are some very interesting suggestions. Courageous. Curious. Okay, thank you everyone for your responses. We also have a few that says contagious. That's interesting. Inspring to develop and to grow people working with. Committed. Okay, thank you everyone for sharing the different C leaders that you are. I'll now pass the time to Aichin, who I believe has been a caring leader, coach leader, and a captivating leader to me. On to you, Aichin.
Okay, thank you, Singing. Well, it's good to see all of you here. Okay, for those who don't know singing, right? Guess how old she is. She's 19 this year. So she's part of Best of Me. And at Best of Me, we believe everyone has potential, right? So I challenge her and say, Singing, why don't you host for today's webinar? And I think she has done a fantastic job. Great job, Singing.
Thank you, Aichin.
Okay, so good to see all of you here. I know all of you are very shy, like most of you off your video. Okay, so today's webinar is going to be a lot more casual. So, feel free to on your video and interact with us. I see a lot of familiar faces, names here. I even see my secondary school friend and a lot of Best of Me coaches, clients, and these are all fantastic friends that have been around to support Best of Me. Thank you very much. To those who are new to Best of Me, a warm welcome to you as well. So I'm Aichin, the founder and CEO of Best of Me. So for those who don't know me, before founding Best of Me, I was the Chief Strategy Officer of AIS Singapore. And I founded Best of Me last year together with my two other partners, Patrick and Ian. I know Patrick is here with us. Ian probably will join later. And they are too shy to on their video, so I won't ask them to on their video. Okay, so Best of Me, it's the first Asian-based digital coaching platform with the vision and mission to help people be the best version of themselves. And what we aspire to do is to make coaching accessible to everyone. So today it's really, glad to see all of you here to support our webinar. We hosted the Celebrating Women webinar about 2 months ago, and I know some of you were there to support us as well. Many has given a very positive feedback about that event, that they have, they were very inspired by the stories shared by the speakers then. And a lot also asked me, Aichin, so when is the next webinar? So here we are today, our webinar, and we actually try to commit to host webinar every month. So we'll see, we'll try to host and invite different speakers to our webinar. And today we have two very incredible C-suite leaders with us, Alvin and Michelle, with the topic transform into a C leader. These two leaders are fantastic, inspiring leaders. And I can't wait to hear their stories. So I know them, I hear their stories before, and I was very inspired. So today I thought it's great for you all to hear the tips from these two C-suite leaders. And the C in them is not just C-suite. There are other C's as well, where later on I will invite them to share what the C means to both of them. So as I mentioned, today's webinar is a little bit different from Celebrating Women. The Celebrating Women's webinar was more one way. So everybody has to be muted, has to be, we can't interact with you. Today, we deliberately wanted to run today's webinar in a more casual way. So we limited the number of participants so that we can actually interact and engage with you later on. So later when during the Q&A session, feel free to on your video, talk to us, and ask questions to our two incredible speakers today. Okay? All right, so without further ado, let me introduce our speakers for today. We have Alvin here. Alvin, you want to say hi?
Hi.
Okay, so Alvin, it's a highly energetic and inspiring leader. When I got to know him, I was like, wow, this man is full of energy. He's the Vice President and GM of Johnson Controls, and he's also an expert in digital transformation and advanced technology, in particular in IoT and AI. He has led many global leadership roles in multinational companies like General Electric, Windsor, Cisco, and many others. And with a passion to inspire and develop young talent, Alvin is now also serving as an adjunct associate professor at NTU and Nanyang Business School. And he is also a ICF professional certified executive coach. So welcome you, Alvin.
Thank you.
All right, our second speaker, equally inspiring leader, Michelle. She's very elegant. I really love to see her. She's an award-winning marketeer with more than 22 years of corporate and consulting experience in strategic marketing, public relations, and media experience in Southeast Asia and the USA. Prior to becoming an executive coach, she served as the Chief Leadership Officer and Head of Strategic Communications for Petronas ICT. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Aichin, and hi everyone. Very good to see you all this evening.
Okay, so shall we start our panel discussion today? Okay, so let's start with the topic for today. We deliberately choose this transform into a C leader because a lot of time when people see that C, they will associate with C-suite, which is why both of you C-suite leaders are here today. But I believe that C means a lot of other things as well, as we can see from the chat. So Alvin, Michelle, what does the C means to you? Maybe Alvin first?
Sure. Aichin, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And team, good evening, good afternoon, or good night to a lot of you out there. So thank you for joining us. I think this is what an amazing inflection time of where we are today. I mean, with the post-pandemic world, with inflation, with the advent of sustainability being heightened, right? And you kind of look at all the topics of World Economic Forum that's happening. You look at Davos that is happening. I think what we're beginning to see are leaders that need to be very different. And I call the new set of leaders that need to be more curious, which is asking a lot more question, defining and being able to creating that curious posture. You become humble, you listen more, but more importantly, really help and grow by really asking the right question. So curiosity is becoming extremely key. And then secondly is creativity. And I equate creativity to innovation. So if you think about the world we lived in, we need more innovation around how do we run faster in a way we think about sustainability. And therefore, between curiosity and creativity are leaders that need to now rethink about the intersection of commercial outcomes, societal and environmental outcomes coming together. And you need this kind of leaders that are both curious, creative, and obviously, I'm a big fan of being a coach leader. So I would say my top 3 C's for leadership is curiosity, creativity, and coach for leadership in the new leadership in the new green economy.
Wow, Alvin, I never thought of that. Curiosity, creativity, and coach light. Yeah, that's very, really associate with your digital experts background. Okay, Michelle, what about you?
Wow, I cannot agree more with Alvin. I thought that was an excellent response. I think for me, as I think about the C leader, the first thing that comes to mind is really moving forward, given the VUCA world, the complexities that we now live in. A coach comes to mind first. And the reason why a coach is because I believe the challenges have become so much bigger than what it was before the pandemic, so much so that it's almost impossible for a leader to have the command and control approach, right? Back when I was in the corporate world, it still seemed to be heavier on the command and control perspective. However, after the pandemic, there's a greater realization that the challenges are huge and it really requires the entire organization and whole teams to work together to come up with bigger, better solutions to really, bring the companies back to where they want to be. And so coach is a key aspect of a leader moving forward. And I was contemplating, pondering about that. And as a coach, it's difficult to coach people or team members if one didn't care. So I think the next C that I would choose is care. it's important for a leader to first care for their team members, because it's from caring for the other person or the teams involved that allows the coach to, as Elvin mentioned, right, be open to listen. And from there, listening is one aspect. But the third C that I have is curiosity. To be curious and to want to find out more about each member, where they're at, and to be able to also, I have a fourth C here, compassionate, to be able to partner with their team members or with their coachees, is really to be compassionate and be able to move forward, alongside one another in this journey forward. So I think I have 4 C's, which is coach, care, curious, and compassion.
Wow, today somehow it's like an English class, so many C. So what I hear, Michelle, is from a C leader, from a command and control, also both C's, from a C leaders to another 4 C's leaders, which is coach-like, caring, curiosity, and compassionate. Wow, so it's all C's. Somehow today so many C's are coming out. All right, so Michelle, you have a very interesting background, right? You were from the marketing background, but your last role with Petronas ICT is a Chief Leadership Officer. So I have been wondering, what does the Chief Leadership Officer do? So what inspired you to take up the role? And what is the most important secret ingredient leading you to achieve this C-level role?
That was a great question, Aichin. As I reminisce back to the years that I was with Petronas ICT, it was my second year with this company where there was a invitation to all the direct reports of the CEO to take up corporate development. And a corporate development project was really to move into an area that one is not familiar with the hopes that a leader like myself at that time would be able to contribute new perspectives to other departments or divisions within the company. So in 2015, with that challenge to take up the corporate development project, I first told my CEO, I had a conversation with him, and I said, you know what, I've always wanted to do a PhD in leadership. So can I do my PhD, and can that count as corporate development? And interestingly, he turned around and said, Michelle, I don't have 5 years for you to finish your PhD and deliver results. So instead, he said, I've been thinking about leadership development, and I'm looking for a fresh team that can partner with HR to revamp and even come up with a brand new leadership development program. And it's really to pay more attention and focus on the top talents of the company, as well as the high performance there. So cut the long story short, I just said yes, right? It was just a simple conversation. It was aligned with my own passion and purpose, because I've always been curious and interested in leadership as a topic as well. Mm-hmm. And so by just saying yes, and for me, as I think back, what was the most important ingredient? It was just my willingness to say yes and explore, right? So I mean, it was one of those situations where, honestly, I've never done it before, so I could have just shuddered with nervousness and maybe fear, but that wasn't the case, because passion and purpose propelled me forward. So when I said yes, 18 months later, right, we had 20 plus top talents graduate from a 15-month Future Leaders program, which I designed, and we basically rolled that out. And it was a mixture of some of my own experiences in executive MBA, as well as corporate leadership development programs in previous companies. So I think it's, definitely willingness to say yes, definitely the passion and a sense of purpose moving forward. That would be the secret ingredients. for a leader. Yeah.
Wow. You know, as I hear you sharing your stories, I kind of like have another 2 C's for you. So 1 C is the clarity of your purpose and your passion. So you're very clear that you want leadership. You are very into people development. So that's one clarity. And the courageous to take up the role. It's not something that you've done before, and then you just jump and just do it, right?
Right.
Yeah, wow, fantastic. Yeah, and the proactiveness. Yeah, a lot of time people always say that wait for the opportunity to come, but as a leader you need to go out and start seizing. Proactiveness is important. Yeah. So Alvin, what about you? What's your secret sauce to reach where you are today as the GM?
Secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
There's no secret sauce. It's a journey.
Okay.
I start by saying that being a coach, or what really inspired me to be a coach, is trying to build the muscle of what I call learning, unlearning, and relearning. Right. All of us go through learning, and I describe learning as a journey rather than a destination, right? And I think this is so important for us, that as every individual and as every leader, you want to go through this journey of learning. And I just kind of recollect about 10 years back when I picked up, when I went for a coaching program. And the reason I did that I guess I had to choose between an EMBA and a coaching program. I actually chose a coaching program, and EMBA was going to be sponsored by my company. Coaching program, they like, why would I sponsor this? So I had to pay myself. But I actually decided to pay myself and did a 1.5 to 2 year program to get myself from, where I was ICC all the way to PCC in a 1.5 years, and did 750 hours of coaching, right? But that was to me, I called it the learning, unlearning, and relearning. I mean, the every ounce of muscle that you build as a leader goes away, because in coach, you're continually to be curious. In coach, you don't want to be the smartest in the room, and you want to be the fastest learner, right? In a room, and the fastest learner in the room wins. So I think, you go through that phase, and it became such a powerful inflection point in my leadership career that I begin to realize that, the ability to lead comes in many facets. And I'll give you 1 or 2 real life examples, right? In a lot of conversation as leaders, we tend to converge in a lot of what we say. So we walk into a room, you have 56 people reporting to you, and you have a couple of directors, and you're running a $350 million business. You come in and you kind of said, look, I've walked the journey, and therefore I know exactly what I want. I do have a vision. I know the why, the how, and the what, and here's what we do, right, as a team. And that's a converged conversation, right? You come to a point, and as a coach, as a leader, I begin to learn how to create divergent conversation. And that really opened up that art of the possible. And when that happens, you build the environment and a platform of trust, diversity, inclusion, and a safe environment for collective intelligence to happen, right? So the coach-like leadership characteristic really enable that platform of trust, enable that divergent conversation where the art of possible happen. And then more importantly, you focus on the preferred future and the best hope. And let me give you an example. So there are many moments in my leadership career that we fail, and we fail badly. And as leaders, we tend to walk into a room full of other leaders and say, you failed, please explain to me what's going on. Please explain to me what's the root cause. Please explain to me, who's responsible. What is the RACI model, right? And you go in and you drill and you dig but as a coach, I took that all completely differently, right? I went in and said, hey, I know we failed and it's disappointing, but what have we learned from this failure? I know it's disappointing that we have failed. How can we be new and different in the future? And what that does is immediately within the room, you lift the barriers of the defensiveness, you lift the barrier of insecurity, you lift that barrier where people feel like, hey, I want to contribute to be better. And it's okay for me to say that I have failed, because boss is looking for what we have learned and we want to be better, rather than trying to point finger at who's wrong and who to assassinate because we failed. So I think that mindset and that coach-like behavior has completely transformed, the way we lead, the way I lead. And I've been very blessed with the fact that over time, by being coach-like, you became more successful, right? In terms of achieving a lot of the outcomes in sales and in running businesses. So I would encourage everyone to rethink about your vocabulary, your conversation, rethink about, how you walk into a room and help your team to unlock that potential.
Wow, Alvin, yeah, it's a fantastic sharing. When you first shared me about you forgo that EMBA, sponsor EMBA, and go for and went for the coaching certification, and then you felt that that was the best leadership development program that you've attended, I was like, wow, this man really knows his stuff. Because you know why, when I started learning coaching, I mean, I was in the corporate for 17 years. I wish I learned the coaching techniques, like what you said, go into a meeting, instead of focusing on what didn't work, which it's traditionally, that's how usually we facilitate a meeting. Go into a meeting, so what happened? What's the issues? What's the problem? Let's find the problem, let's solve the problem. But that drains the whole energy, and the people started to close. It's like, I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah, I can see the energy coming down. But if we go in a meeting and start to say what works, come, let's look at what works and how can we do better, that changed the whole dynamic. So when I learned that technique, I was like, wow, I wish I knew earlier in my corporate leadership.
Not too late. It's never too late. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw some good comments here. Collective ownership. Jenny said that it's what you shared, Alvin, is about collective ownership, and which is very true. It's not about you, it's about we. We go together. So a leader that says we can really inspire and bring people together. Yeah. So
I mean, if you kind of think about AI, right? Artificial intelligence, I call AI learning technology or learning algorithms, right? And if you the concept of learning, nothing is more powerful than that collective intelligence, right? And as coaches, we all know that the answer is in the room. The art of this is, how do you develop and create an environment where the collective intelligence happen automatically.
Yep.
And when that intelligence happen, when that contribution happen, then collective ownership happens, right? And for people run, you carry the monkey, right? The team shares the load and shares the weight with you, and everyone's running because you allow them to co-create with you. So I think, adopting that coach-like vocabulary, adopting that coach-like way of relating, I think it really opens up a new set of environment that this is what we need, especially for the Gen, I call it the Gen Y and the Gen Zs, right? And more importantly, in the world of post-pandemic, where it's a lot more about, the why, right? People want to work for the why, not so much of the what. And I think more and more leaders need to evolve. And I think, what I heard, a couple of days back, Satya Nadella, right, CEO of Microsoft, talks about coaching. And this is his new framework for leadership for all Microsoft leaders across the world. This is the most market cap company in the world, or second most market cap company in the world. And to him, he believed that we need to care and coach. Unbelievable. To me, I'm like, wow, finally, right? I think coaching has reached that point, my belief. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I read a research paper from Google, right? They did a research. What is the top 8 traits of successful managers, leaders, and coach-like is number 1. Yeah. So you mentioned about collective ownership, collective intelligence. It can only happen when there's a safe space for people to share. There's a lot of time when the leader is not listening, the leader is not really, care, not paying attention. I mean, it's like, don't listen. What for? I speak out, right? And then that's why all the ideas will, stay within the employees and not collectively shared across. Yeah, absolutely. So, Michelle, Alvin, I'm sure that you all know that, C-level, a lot of time from outside looking at both of you would think there are a lot of glamorous moments, right? It's all like, wow, you're C-suite leaders. Tell us, tell the audience today one untold truth about C-level leadership.
Michelle?
Something that people probably didn't see, but maybe Michelle first.
Yeah, so it's not that, well, is it untold? Yeah, perhaps, right? Or maybe it's not told enough that people in C-level leadership are also humans. And maybe that needs to be said more often than not. And what that means to be human is we also have many challenges, trying to juggle many priorities that all come our way, and everything suddenly becomes our priority. And the burden of not letting others know what's truly going on with me as a leader. So I think that's the unspoken truth, at least from my perspective. When I was going through it, I felt like I have to hold up this image that nobody can look behind. And as a result, I mean, the harder I pushed, yes, we achieved great results, right? Even won awards. But at the end of the day, there's some level of disconnection. There's some level of disengagement. My team were, going through cycles of burnout. It's like we were taking turns getting burnout. And there wasn't really that opportunity to let others in, to realize that as leaders, we're also human, and we also need support, and that whole bit about as coach, as a leader, we want to be, we want to show empathy, we want to listen, we want to show compassion, and we want to work with. We also require others to want to get to know us better and work with us, like in a very authentic way. I think I think that's the biggest untold truth. And the reason why I thought about that as well is because one of the defining moments for me as the CLO back then was I discovered coaching in the midst of being a chief leadership officer. And it was, I had the opportunity to say, hey, you know what, as CLO, in order to enhance some of these leadership development programs, I really would like to get my head around coaching and the power of coaching, right? It seems to be powerful, but nobody could really put their finger or try and understand or measure its impact, that sort of thing. And I think for me, it was just, again, putting up my hands to say, you know what, in my capacity, I would like to learn to become a coach. And it was in that journey that I found myself, the onion, me as the onion, layer by layer being peeled. And when that happened, I tell you, my team members got so close to me because they got to see that layer and upon layer being removed. And I remember telling them, guys, I'm going through a coaching certification program, and something's happening with me inside. And, I said, I may shed some tears along the way because the work is so deep that there might be days when I show up, tears may just come. that's how deep the transformation was for me when I went through that coaching journey. And, instead of my team members then say, oh no, Michelle is unraveling and she's no longer a great leader, I found myself becoming more engaged with them. And through that journey, I found the team members, wanting to really stand alongside me. And we spent a lot more, what I would say, quality time getting to know one another and really working together. So it was even sometimes not like a leader and subordinate, but it was like almost working hand in hand as almost like partners moving forward in the projects. So that to me was life-changing. And that's why I'm now a coach, because it was so impactful. Turned my life upside down and around.
Wow. Wow. I totally resonate with you, Michelle. And now that I also equip myself with the leadership, with the coaching techniques, Be Coach Light, I somehow, felt that, it's more important to help your employees or your team members to want to work rather than have to work. When you adopt the command and control way, I have no choice, I have to. But then now, if we can inspire them to say, instead of I have to, now they change narrative to I want to, that's powerful, right? Yeah. Okay, so Alvin, what about you?
The untold stories of Sweet.
Yeah.
It's all a lipstick on a pig. I think sometimes at C-level that, there's a bit of that loneliness, right? You're trying to, and I think, being part of a coaching for community and all that actually does help me quite a bit, into understanding how do you kind of get through, right? I mean, there's a lot of intensity. You are running a business, you've got weekly numbers, you've got monthly numbers, you've got quarterly numbers that you are chasing.
Yep.
And as a coach, I actually struggle a lot because there are many moments where you need to extremely be tactical and you don't give chance for time to explore and have divergent conversation. So I've learned over time that over the last 8-10 years that, it's important to learn where to balance the hats that you wear, where you need to make tactical, time-sensitive decision, where you have time to open up that coach-like conversation, right? Because time is of the essence. You need to perform. You need a set of results, and so that's what I've been passionate about, trying to figure out what's that balance. We call it the now, the next, and the beyond, right? Where do you put time in developing the resources and the energy around the beyond? Thought leadership, what does it look like 2-3 years out? The next, as in what's the line of sight, but it's that 18 months, 36 months away. And then the now, that you need to run your business, you need to feed the family.
Yeah.
And through that journey of the now, next, and beyond, at which point is the intervention of coaching that is powerful to transform, right? Do you transform it at the now? Do you transform it at the next? So when you think about doing that, and I don't have the answers. I think the answers lies in a lot of the team that I lead and I manage. And this is where I engage with them a lot, right? To kind of what I call sense and respond in terms of how you think about those coaching intervention at what time and when. And you need to be that leader, that directive leader to run that business so that you can achieve the outcomes that the organization call for.
Yep.
So I think, for me, that's kind of the struggle, yet the passion and the challenge I have ahead of me to kind of figure that out and what's that kind of the right recipe, right? So
right. Yeah, I have leaders who they have not, they know coaching, but they have not really go through a coaching program. Then they will say, they told me, say, Ai-Chin, coaching is good, but in this very fast-paced environment, how we operate, results-oriented, coaching is too slow. We cannot cannot always use the coaching way in our leadership. So how I kind of share with them is that we are not saying that, I mean, we understand leaders, we have to, sometimes, like you say, Alvin, there's a lot of things that happening. You need to come in and make decision. We are not saying that, coaching is the only tool, only leadership tool that you use from now on. There are moments of you need to, make decision fast and just go. There are moments that you need to tell. There's moments that you need to share experience, that's mentoring. But now you add one more tool into your toolbox, your leadership toolbox, which is coaching. Because coaching is proven that it's able to help people look inside and find answers. And the people nowadays are smart. They have the answers. You just have to, draw it out from them. So that's how I see coaching to add into my leadership toolbox. Yeah. Okay, so I'm mindful of time. I just want to maybe ask last questions before I open to the floor. I read this paper about in 2019. It says that Singapore is the second most overworked city, ranking 32 among 40 cities for work-life balance. So Singaporeans work very hard. I'm sure equally Malaysian, the same. And I was just thinking, as C-level leaders, probably the workload is even more, right? So what do you think, in your opinion, a leader that is successful at work is also capable of living a happy and well-balanced life? Do you agree with that? And how do you cope with that? I know, Alvin, you're very, very busy, right?
I'm not sure I'm coping. I need coaching. Yeah, maybe I'll start first. I think that's a difficult question. I think the first thing that you need to be very clear, and I learned this by being a coach. I became a lot more clear and prescriptive around my vision in life, around the core that I am, right? So I became a lot more prescriptive, and let me maybe just be a bit more personal here. My core and my vision is to be a teacher, to unlock untapped potential, through enablement, education, empowerment, and engagement of people, right? As simple as that. And that's my core, right? So whether be it I a leader of currently a $50 million startup business within a large 135-year-old American company, I adopt and I portray that core within me, that as a leader, I'm constantly thinking about teaching and coaching my team and helping them to unlock their potential so that they run faster, so that they can do more, right? And I think that secret sauce of ability to balance is because you hire good people, because of what you do as a leader, you attract good people. You bother and you allocate time and resources to really unlock that potential. You actually do less, and therefore you have more time for me to do my coaching and my teaching, as a result of the fact that my core, inspire me and initiates and drive that focus and the activity and that allocation of resources to unlocking their potential, right?
Yeah.
I would say that's fundamentally what's really helping me as a leader to kind of juggle my time, right? Number one, hire the right talent. Number two, put focus and time and care. And I like what Michelle said, right? Care and compassion. Because the moment you have the heart for them, the moment you begin to adopt that my core, which is to teach and to coach, you really unlock their potential. Yep. They do more than 150% of what they can do. They actually take workload away from me, right? And that gives me more time to juggle with family, with teaching, and with coaching. So I'd say if there's one thing, stay true to your core, right? And I guess everybody here in this room has a passion for coaching. Stay true to your core and really stay, that care and compassion for people. is that foundation. Okay?
Yep. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. What about Michelle?
For me, I think it's got a lot to do with a leader's priorities, and I think that can shift from season to season.
Yep.
And you know, is there really a balance when you talk about work-life balance? I personally don't believe that it's possible to achieve that balance, because even balance is subjective. You know, for me, I'd rather say work and life integration based on the priorities and things that are important to the leader. At that point in time, you know, if work is very, very important because of certain needs within, you know, his or her life, or within the family, extended family, community, society, then if that is a priority and that's what the leader is passionate about and finds very high energy in wanting to move forward, then I guess that would just keep that person moving forward and, you know, not stressed. You know, and one of the key things as I coach leaders is really the need to communicate more, right? So in different seasons in our lives, our priorities change, and it is important to be able to communicate these priorities to our spheres of influence, the people who matter to us, to gain their support, their buy-in, and the, you know, so that we can together find that balance, right? So it's not necessarily work life as in 50% work, 50% everything else. I don't know if there's really such an equation, but to me, it's a sense of, as a leader, am I passionate about what I do? And do I draw energy from doing more certain things? And where I find other activities that are draining my energy, then I want to be able to minimize those. And that's where I also agree. I mean, the thoughts came as Elvin was sharing, was that, you know, in every team, for every leader, it's paramount that we find the right people with the right skills, the right talent to fill the jobs, because people with the right skills and the right attitude, motivation, really does respond very well with coaching. Right? Because all you need to do is be curious, care for them, and be there for them. And by asking them questions to help them explore possibilities, they just keep, you know, progressing. So really the right talent is so important in the right specific roles. And I think, you know, that already frees up a lot more time for the leader to be focusing on why they are a leader in the first place. Right? It's not really to do all the nitty-gritty most of the time. It's really to be able to free them up to strategize, you know, to look at the big picture, to take care of the people. So so that's my, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for. That I don't think there's a balance or formula to balance.
I totally agree with you.
It's what the person feels like propelling forward.
And I absolutely resonate with you when you talk about work-life integration. And recently I learned a new word. It's called work-life choices. I saw it from my friend's Facebook. So it's like priorities, right? What is a priority? And Alvin, what you said, it's really true about, you know, having the right team, and most importantly, empower them, draw out and unlock their potential so they can run by themselves, rather than, you know, you help them solve the problem. So in coaching, we say we coach the person and not the problem, because we are helping him to unlock his potential so that he can run, and then we can then free our time. Empower the team. All right, so 10 more minutes to 9. Perhaps I will open to the floor. Anyone will have any questions or any comments to make? Feel free to unmute and ask the question Or you can just simply type in the chat box if you're shy on your video. Any questions for Alvin or Michelle? No? Okay, let me see the chat. Is there any questions? Okay, so we have a question from Anna. What would you advise someone pursuing a passion in working with children for 5+ years to be trained as a coach? Michelle, Alvin, what would you advise someone pursuing a passion?
How old are the children?
5 years. 5 years.
No, for 5+ years.
Yeah.
Children for 5+ years. What children is at what level? Anna?
The children is about 5 years old.
Or is it?
Yeah. Yeah. To be trained as a coach. Maybe let me take that because I have an 8-year-old. And I mean, it's a great question. In fact, you know, one of the benefits that I felt that I learned as a coach is not just applying at workplace. I now also adopt coaching with my daughter as well. And I find it's an absolutely fantastic tool for me when I communicate with my daughter. You know, kids nowadays are very smart, right? You tell them what to do, they won't listen. So I use questions. I listen to them. I try to draw it up from them. And after a while, you can see them behave differently. So to me, that's one of the greatest benefits that I felt that I learned, because it's not just a technique that for me to use in my professional or at the workplace, but it's a life skill for me that I can actually now, you know, use this coaching techniques with people around me, with my daughter as well. So to me, it's fantastic. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other supplements from Michelle or Alvin? Alvin, I know you have.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, at 5 years old, you know, what is it that the child needs at that time? I totally agree. The coaching questions would be helpful at times, but I can't imagine that would be like, okay, you know, this child, we're going to sit down now and have a coaching conversation. It won't be like that. It'll be, you know, just questions that come out as and when you're with the children, to, you know, kind of out of curiosity, ask them and have them share their ideas. But at the same time, I was also thinking about, wow, 5 years old, you know, they're still growing and they're still picking a lot of skills, picking up skills, you know, life skills and whatnot. And perhaps, you know, teaching, training may be a primary skill to have at that time, simply because the children are still growing and they're still learning a lot. So they are looking for answers and they may not always have the answers within at that time. So yeah, just my 2 cents on that.
Any other questions? I'm really mindful of the time.
Hi, I got a question here for both Michelle and Alvin. My name is Moha Ibrahim. Thank you, Michelle and Alvin, for sharing your experiences, and your sharing is fantastic. My little question that I have is what about those toxic or arsenic behaviors that you find amongst the staff that you have? And is coaching really applicable to all? There could be some people who may not be coachable at all. What are your thoughts on that?
Thanks, Moha. Oh, you want to go?
Go ahead, Michelle. No, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I think first rule of thumb with coaching is the person that we're coaching needs to be coachable. So if you mention, you know, someone's toxic and they're perhaps already has his or her own agenda and they're not listening or even open to having a conversation, a coach-like conversation, then yeah, I'd say don't coach, because this person would require something else. You know, unless there is a great idea to help this person move out of the toxicity. I think with coaches, it really starts from the point where the other person needs to want to be coached. So that's my response to you, Moha.
Yeah, I would say, I think number one, toxic behavior stems from toxic leaders as well, right? Throughout the organization. So I think we just got to be careful when you kind of think about, are people coachable, not coachable? I think I completely agree with what Michelle was saying. But I think deeper than that is, it's more of a leadership challenge rather than whether you need to apply coaching or not, would be my short answer, right?
Okay, we have another question, so we'll take just one more question, mindful of time. It's a long one, Alvin. I think it's for you. Just now, Alvin mentioned that leaders have to balance different hats we wear. As a leader who works at corporate, I am the one who evaluates people's performance, the one who decides their pay, and also the one who coaches them. I truly believe that coaching is based on trust. Any tips of how to balance these roles so that subordinates are willing to open up?
It's difficult. It's difficult. So I think, I've been on this journey for the last probably 8 years. And I guess I see more successes than failures. I would say there are moments where the balance kind of tilted a different way. But I would, the moment you create a trust environment, the team knows, and you need to really know, and as a leader, you need to be very clear. When do you have coaching moments? So I'll give you an example, right? For me, a real life example. For me, I'm very clear of when my coaching moments are. So all coaching moments with my team is on weekends, where my team says, hey, Al, would love to have coffee with you, would love to understand from a development standpoint, a career, and what you do. So I'm very open with them, right? And any of my employees who say, I'm looking for a job outside because I want to do more, I actually encourage them. So my coaching moments tend to be outside of work. At work, they are very clear that I'm the leader and I'm the boss, right? And so I make it clear. I do cycling with them, I do running with them, I do coffees with them between Friday nights and Monday mornings, right? Or Sunday evenings. So that's kind of that precious time that they can, pick up a text with me and says, hey, Al, would love to have a quick run with you between 6:30 and 8, right? And I'll do that. And that's where my coaching moments happen. So I would say I make that very distinct in terms of coaching. However, at work, when I coach, it's around a particular outcome and a particular situation, and that's okay. But not from a development standpoint. Development standpoint, I take it off after office hours. But for situations, for problem solving, all that, I actually do it at work. All right. And that's very different. That's a very different style of coaching. So I juggle that. There are moments where it's difficult. I agree with you. Right.
Yeah. Great tips. Michelle, anything to supplement?
Yeah, I remember when I was going through the coaching journey, I also told my team members that as I'm going through the coaching program, I would want to explore a different style of leadership, which is to ask more questions and not necessarily give the answers. So it was okay for me to adopt the coach approach when it comes to working on projects and clearly about performance. But I agree with Alvin when it comes to deeper aspects, development, looking at the person, what their deeper sense of meaning, sense of existence or purpose and meaning in life is. I personally don't coach my own team members. And the reason for that is because working with them day in, day out already, I'm aware that I would have formed some level of biases towards my team members. So I feel personally that because of the biases in my, that I may have developed from working with them, I personally don't offer myself as a coach to them. I end up coaching other, top talents or high performers of other functions within the organization. So that was my just what I chose to do. Of course, when it comes to team members, it's clearly about performance, and so I adopt more of the performance coaching approach.
I like the point that Alvin brought forward about coaching moments. So again, is you have to find the right time. We do wear different hats as leaders, but there are moments for coaching. There are moments for other aspects of things. And Michelle, spot on. Sometimes when you're too close a relationship, the biasness, it makes it hard. So one of the things that people always joke is that don't coach your husband, don't coach your spouse. It's gonna be very hard. Yeah. Okay. So time really flies. It's already 9. So I think we probably have to end here. Before we close, I just want to share with the audience today a very powerful story from Wendy, the Deputy Head of Finance at NUS. It's a video that she shared how she became a better leader with coaching. So let's just watch this video. Yeah.
I'm Wendy. I'm the Deputy Finance Director at NUS. I believe in coaching. What I like about coaching is that it's individualized. Unlike just going for training or maybe have a team building, it provides a safe space for individuals to learn about themselves, explore options, and at the same time create self-awareness, both in their personal life and actually at work. I believe at the typical corporate life, all of us actually face challenges, be it deadlines, a new team. I was actually going through our organization. One of the challenges that I face is to manage much bigger team and much bigger workload. So one of the help that my boss has extended to me is to go into coaching. My journey in coaching was very interesting one. It actually also helps me to look into areas that I might not have the chance to explore, to reflect upon, and to talk about. Actually, the first experience that I had, we always find that we get to know ourselves so much better. We also feel cared for during that process because there is a lot of discussion, exploration with the coach. It's also about us finding the answers for ourselves. I have a much closer working relationship with my team. I feel connected with my team, and I have a true appreciation when I work with my people. One of the most important things that I actually learned about myself is that it is so important for us to manage and look into inside ourselves. And through this journey, I almost feel like I have freed myself from a hole that I actually created. And since then, I have also bring back the experience that I had to my team. I feel that coaching definitely can help improve my employee mental well-being. Actually, what the coaching does to employees is that they are not just focusing on particular outcome or particular results. The whole process is looking into the various aspects of their life. How do they at least perceive how their life journey is like? We are not just trying to treat the symptoms. When I say treat the symptoms means, so let's say, of course, I'm in finance, if my staff cannot produce a certain report, instead of focusing on, why is it that you cannot, potentially is something that is underlying. I think that discussion helps them to confront the topics that needs to be discussed. Through the way the coaching goes, typically there will be a lot of questions that are posed to them, which they may not have the chance to pause and ask in their daily life. And through that process, a lot of them will have greater clarity about their priorities. about what is important, what is not. I do hope that all my people can go through coaching so that not only they are able to perform at work, but in fact it's the other way around, right? It's more like because they are well taken care of, they are able to address the issue that they have in their life, and therefore they are able to further enhance their performance at work.
Okay, so I hope you're inspired by Wendy's stories. In fact, Wendy is a great leader. She actually get coaches to all of her direct reports because she believed in coaching. Yeah, so you know, we have a lot more inspiring stories from corporate leaders that share with us how coaching has helped them move their leadership skills to the next level. In particularly, you know, coaching is great in helping them to identify blind spot. They felt more empowered and they started to empower their team more too. And with this empowerment in place, their team engagement increased tremendously. And of course, I think one of the very good aspects of coaching is that it helps leaders to have new perspective. And with all the positive changes and all small wins that achieved through coaching, leaders say that they gain confidence and they perform better. So if you're interested to find out more about leadership coaching, to elevate your coaching, your leadership skills, you know, to add to your toolbox, let us know. Reach out to us. There is this QR code here. You can just scan it and then leave your contact with us and we will reach out to you. And if you are interested to also equip yourself with coaching competencies to learn about coaching, reach out to us too. Okay, so once again, we have come to the end of the event. Once again, I want to thank our speakers, Michelle and Alvin. Thank you so much for your authentic sharing. Alvin is actually now in Cambodia and he is dialing in from Cambodia. Safe flight back tomorrow, Alvin. We'll see you again. So stay true. And we also want to thank all of you who stayed through with us. We have recorded the event, so if you are interested to share the recording with your friends, we will send you the YouTube link once ready. Okay, so we'll see you in the next event. If you have anything, feel free to reach out to us. All right, good night, everybody. Thank you. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.